Good morning. This area is called Boulder Flats in the Tonto National Forest. I think part of the name comes from all these big rocks around here, but my legs are disputing the flat part. Fortunately, all these boulders make good places to sit and rest while I talk some anime.
Voices of a Distant Star.
Sometimes the whole far exceeds the sum of its parts. The short sci-fi anime OVA, Voices of a Distant Star, has exactly this kind of gestalt. 4 decades in the future, mankind finds alien ruins on the Mars-Tarsus Plateau, but the entire expedition studying those ruins is wiped out. Based on the discovered alien technology there, the Earth launches a military fleet to track down the aliens. Schoolgirl Mikaku is drafted into the effort as a pilot of a new mecha-like space fighter called the Tracer. That's not really what Voices of a Distant Star is about. What it's about is the long-distance relationship between young spacefaring Mikaku and her longtime childhood friend Noboru, who remains back on Earth. After parting when the fleet leaves for training around Mars, they keep in touch via cell phone text messages. As the fleet moves further away, to Jupiter, then Pluto, and then beyond, the messages take progressively longer and longer to arrive. And finally, when the fleet jumps through hyperspace to the aliens' home around Sirius, there's a lag of 8 years between messages. Noboru will eventually grow into a man and still receive a belated email from the still teenage Mikaku sent 8 years prior from Sirius. Voices of a Distant Star has exactly 2 characters. We see Noboru and Mikaku together on Earth. We see Noboru on Earth after the fleet leaves, but he's always alone. And we see Mikaku in space, but always alone in the cockpit of her fighter. The rest of their everyday lives has been stripped away. Probably Mikaku has friends and colleagues aboard her spaceship, but we never see them in the anime. We might assume Mikaku also has parents back on Earth, but they're never mentioned. And certainly Noboru must have friends at school and later at work. Voices is only about this couple, period, so they're all we see and hear. The story is told through the messages Mikaku sends home. We hear Mikaku's voice read us her emails, and we listen in on the private soliloquies of both Mikaku and Noboru. Each successive email from Mikaku sounds a little bit lonelier. Taken as a whole, Voices of a Distant Star is an exceptional short video that evokes a strong, sympathetic reaction through its visuals, dialogue, and music.
のぼるくん、私は今太陽系最果ての冥王星にいます。地球を出発してからもう半年。リシテア艦隊は木星からずっと調査を続けてきたんだけど、結局タルシアンの痕跡はまだどこにも見つかっていないの。
Voices of a Distant Star was an almost solo project by Makoto Shinkai, who wrote the screenplay and did all the animation himself on his home computer. His self-direction is extremely well managed, creating a very engaging short story that quickly attracts our attention and then fills in the details later with a lot of small flashbacks. Artistically, Shinkai has combined multiple techniques. On Earth, he creates photorealistic urban backgrounds by starting with photographs of real locations and then repainting them in slightly idealized form with incredible detail. That means his backgrounds are invariably static and two-dimensional, which limits his camera movement a bit. He compensates for that static camera by adding dynamic reflections, dancing lights and shadows moving across the scene, and he shifts scenes frequently. He also mixes a number of claustrophobic scenes, a classroom in the corner, or hiding under a shelter from the rain, with wide-open shots of the sky, where phone poles, contrails, rain and snowfall all draw eyes vertically up into the sky. In contrast to his urban realism, whenever Shinkai draws that sky, it's greatly idealized, especially the night sky, which looks more like a survey image from the Hubble Space Telescope than what one actually sees from an Earth city at night. When the anime deals with space scenes, the view opens out. 3D CGI takes over for some well-animated battle sequences with fluid camera motion. Shinkai's spaceship designs owe a lot to Gunbuster and his mecha to Macros and Gundam. The Tracer has a transparent cockpit with 360-degree vision, which is used to give the impression of Mikaku floating all alone in outer space. Compared to the rest of the art, the character designs are rather simple, with slightly angular lines and two-tone shading. There's not much sense in asking why Mikaku is fighting aliens in the same school uniform she wore on Earth. Maybe the UN can't afford flight suits. Shinkai also introduces animated lens flare and other camera artifacts. That's an animation trick I've never particularly understood. It's not reality, But apparently he agrees with J.J. Abrams that things don't look real anymore unless they look like they're seen through a camera. But Voices of a Distant Star is a character-driven story, and it really shines at that, telling a story of two good friends pulled apart further and further by time. That's a message that Shinkai will return to in his later works. Here he uses a train crossing as a metaphor for that separation.
メールが届くまでだんだん時間がかかるようになるけど、一番端っこのオルトの雲からだって半年くらいのもんだからね。
I like that UN Spacey reference to Macros on the freight car there. In order for the story to work, Shinkai has envisioned a sci-fi universe where hyperspace jumps are possible only from specific places and in just one direction. Relativistic travel could have provided much the same growing separation as with Haldeman's Forever War novel or the Gunbuster OVAs, but Shinkai makes the possibility of a return to Earth problematic. The music by Teneman includes a single vocal piece that drives the ending, and several different piano and orchestral arrangements of that same tune used throughout the anime. They get a lot of different moods from just one theme. I give Voices of a Distant Star 5 stars. It makes a pleasantly melancholy 25 minutes from the sum of all these parts, the whole soaring far above these minor limitations. I have to comment on ADV Films' dub. They've used a very loose translation, and I think that in such a unique show, where the creator did all the work himself, it might have been better to stick more closely to the original dialogue. That seems an especially egregious choice in an anime where so much of the dialogue is voiced over without showing the characters speaking. Matching lip flaps certainly is not an excuse. The reversioned English dub even manages to mess up some planetary distances at one point. I think it's best to stick with the subtitles myself. ADV's DVD also includes an earlier version of Voices of a Distant Star, voiced by director Shinkai and his fiancée, as well as Shinkai's animated short She and Her Cat. After the anime was released, there was a subsequent manga adaptation of the story. It expanded things a bit to include some additional characters, and even included a few pages of what happened next. It's available translated in English from Tokyo Pop, but I don't think it really adds a whole lot to the experience. The anime is superior.
Thanks for watching.